Welcome to Annette on America. This is Annette Bybee, single mom to two teens and a tween and recovering lawyer. All right, so we have sort of good news, bad news at the beginning, and then you'll want to stick around for the next half hour because I have Stephen Daniels on and we're going to have fun sharing our favorite memes from the year, so don't miss that. I'm allowing more time in the second half, so this first half is going to be a little shorter than usual. All right, so here in Colorado, the good news, bad news. The good news is Lauren Boebert is officially elected or re-elected. I think there were only 545 votes between her and her opponent at the end there for the official count, so that was a squeaker. I hope she gets some things done over the next few years, and so her next re-election bid is a little smoother. Anyway, then the bad news. This is just typical Colorado, and it's just extremely stupid. But starting in January of next year, which is just a few weeks away, only cage-free eggs can be sold in Colorado. That's right. Less choice for you, higher prices for you, because inflation hasn't already made eggs expensive enough. I hate to see, they've doubled this year. I hate to see what's going to happen when we no longer have the option of non-cage-free eggs. And what's also, I feel, really ironic about this is that we have one of the most liberal abortion laws now in this state. So it's so easy to kill your own child. But those chickens have got to stay out of cages. I don't know if anyone in the legislature, the state legislature, sees the irony of that, but hello. Anyway, all right, then Sam Bankman-Fried was finally arrested, but the timing was awfully suspicious. He was arrested right before he was scheduled to testify before Congress. Couldn't have that happening now, could we? Since he was money laundering all that lovely cash for the Democrats. Anyway, bets are on to see how long he lasts in prison before he's suicided. Let's hope that SBF gets lucky and manages to avoid that. And the Department of Energy has fired Sam Brinton. Isn't it funny, these Sams? But anyway, he's thought to be the nation's first openly gender fluid federal employee. And he was fired because he stole luggage, not once, but twice that he was caught for, which tells you probably he's done that in the past. So I'm just wondering if there's some kind of correlation between gender fluidity and the urge to steal things. What is that? I can't remember what that's called. Kleptomania. So I'm wondering if the government has done a study on that. We like to do useless studies. Is there a correlation between gender fluidity and kleptomania? Anyway, because, the guy was making bucks. He was making good money in his job for the federal government. He didn't need to steal luggage. Well, nobody ever needs to steal luggage. You can go buy a duffel bag at Walmart if you're that broke. But anyway, so there's obviously this guy has a problem, other than the fact that he has a mustache and wears lipstick. Anyway, speaking of problems, we know that the president recently signed the Defense of Marriage, or whatever they call it. It's basically the law codifying the legality of gay marriage. And President Biden lit up the White House in rainbow colors because that's where we're at now as a country. And that goes along with this story that I want to tell. This is very interesting with all the gender affirming or really gender changing care or surgery, mutilation, that's happening with children now. We have one man who went through this himself and is now speaking up and speaking out. So this is a detransitioned SEAL member. That's interesting, how you wouldn't think of a SEAL, a Navy SEAL doing this, but anyway, the transgender phenomenon, specifically the rapid onset variety, is not particularly new, though it seems to be a constant in the news these days. 10 years ago, a U.S. Navy SEAL shocked the country by declaring he was transgender. His name is Chris Beck. In 2013, he made public his declaration that he was a woman whose name was now Kristen. He has since detransitioned and is vehemently speaking out and trying to warn Americans in general and parents in particular that everything that happened to me for the last 10 years destroyed my life. He further notes, I destroyed my life. I'm not a victim. I did this to myself, but I had help. So the difference here between him and some of these other kids is that they're kids. And when they start getting transitioned, they're usually doing it with pressure from parents, doctors, surgeons, psychologists, and very quickly. You hear a lot of times of these kids going in to get it done, work done, and they don't have months or even weeks often of therapy and discussion about this. It just starts happening. It's a big money proposition, and that's why it's happening. Always look for the money. I gotta put this pen down since I keep clicking it. Anyway, whenever I hear about kids going through this, I see us as a country 10 years down the line, or even earlier, with lots of really broken people walking around, almost zombie-like. These are people who transitioned because they were unhappy with who they were, but instead of finding other ways to deal with it, went and got this mutilating surgery, and now former girls can no longer have children. Boys no longer have their masculine parts, and they can't go back. And so they're trapped in these bodies that they don't feel comfortable in now. And they're going to be desperately unhappy. They're not going to have normal sex lives. They're not going to be able to parent children. I mean, it's just going to be really hard for them. And I feel for these people in the future, because this didn't happen. This does not have to happen. We should be having more discussions around what this means to take these hormone blockers and have this surgery, and what this looks like for them 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. We're not doing that. We're not having those discussions. We're just lighting up the White House in rainbow colors and embracing this all as if it's all sunshine and roses and lollipops. Well, I really hope that down the line, when these people are walking around broken, that they sue the pants off of the professionals that push this on them, and their parents, if that's necessary or appropriate, because this shouldn't be happening. Okay, anyway, back to the story. Beck, a highly decorated and seasoned SEAL, bitterly recalled his experience with psychologists who were quick to put him on hormones and affirm his identity instead of doing their jobs and actually helping him address and work through traumatic experiences in his life. Beck recounted, I walked into a psychologist's office, and in one day, I have a letter in hand saying I was a transgender. I was authorized for hormones. I was authorized all this other stuff. He also apologized to the American public, confessing that the VA, red taxpayers, paid for much of this treatment. Sadly, this tale of malpractice by ideologically motivated healthcare providers is not uncommon. Several detransitioners have testified that they experienced the same thing. They were dealing with trauma and needed talk therapy. Instead, they were unconditionally affirmed and given harmful drugs. This cycle of affirmation without addressing the real issues that these people are struggling with is the underlying pathology leading to higher risk of suicide for this cohort. These days, it's all too easy for people who are struggling with gender confusion to gain access to hormones. Many places, such as Planned Parenthood, by the way, they are now doing this because some states are no longer having Planned Parenthood be as prolific because they're passed laws or are passing laws making abortion less readily acceptable. So Planned Parenthood has to find another cause, and this is the one they've chosen. So Planned Parenthood doesn't even require a note from a mental health care provider before handing out these puberty-blocking drugs. This is particularly disturbing when you consider how many minors are getting access to these drugs that have irreparable consequences to the developing body. Many puberty blockers have serious side effects like osteoporosis, brain damage, voice changes, heart problems, and/or infertility. Some users have even developed cancers. Yet pharmaceuticals and gender clinics keep peddling this poison along with their life-destroying ideology. So they're taking these things. Obviously, it's really unnatural to block someone's puberty. And that's why the body's saying, whoa, I don't know what to do with all this. This is crazy. And all these weird things happen. As has been pointed out by many fighting to bring attention to the dangers of this ideology, one only needs to follow the money to understand the strongest motive for the ideological push. Places like Vanderbilt University Medical Center opened a pediatric gender clinic because, as one doctor said, it could make a lot of money. This industry is expected to reach $5 billion by the end of the decade, reports the Daily Wire. According to a recent report from Grandview Research, the sector saw a $1.9 billion valuation last year and is forecast to expand at a compound annual growth rate of more than 11% through 2030. So I'm going to add the prediction that, yes, this money is going to keep getting bigger for these people, maybe through 2030. But then, like I said, I think some of these people are going to start having the pants sewed off of them, and rightly so. So let's look forward to that, right? It's not going to help these poor transitioned people who are stuck in these new bizarre bodies that they don't feel comfortable with, but maybe it'll prevent these people from doing this going forward. Have you ever noticed that the pendulum always swings way too far? You know, before it was too far to one side of, you know, we don't accept people who are transvestites or transgender, whatever. They're closeted, they're ridiculed, they're pilloried. And then, you know, it slowly came down to about the middle where they weren't ridiculed as much. They were looked on kind of as, what are these people? But it was not to the same degree. So it kind of became more acceptable. All the way over here to the other side where it's banging up against whatever is at the end of this pendulum, where it's now not only not pilloried or mocked, it's accepted and celebrated. See, this is where a lot of us on the right have the problem. We love all of God's children and we accept them. You know, most of us are just live and let live. But when the pendulum swings so far that it's what was once seen as abnormal is now celebrated, we have a problem. Especially when you come after our children with this. When you are coming to our kids who are vulnerable and confused, and they're watching TikTok and they're on Instagram and they're being sold that this is what they should be doing, that gender is fluid. When that's being pushed down the throats of our children, we've had enough. And that's why this is a big problem. And it's what's really disheartening is that it's all the way up at the White House. They're cobbling together all the victims and holding them up as heroes. These people should be getting help, but instead we're holding them up as the ultimate victim, and so the ultimate person to be celebrated. It's a sick and twisted world that we live in. If you ever go back, have a chance to read Dinesh D'Souza's book on socialism. I can't remember what it's called now. I did a whole episode on it. I had him on. But what he says in the book is that the reason that you see so much celebration of LGBT community is because the left is cobbling together a coalition of victims. And so you don't have enough minorities to do it, so you have to pull in transgenders. And that's what's going on. Anyway, it's just bizarre. All right, so let's keep going with the story. Beck is also disturbed by this monetary motive, saying this is a billion-dollar industry between psychologists, between surgeons, surgeries, between hormones, between chemicals, between follow-up treatments. There are thousands of gender clinics popping up all over our country, and each of those gender clinics is going to be pulling in probably over $50 million. And a lot of that's going to be government money because some states are already doing this. And I believe the federal government is already paying for it for military members. So how much do you want to bet Medicare is going to start paying if it doesn't already, and Medicaid? You can bet your bottom dollar that government money is going to go towards a lot of this. Beck is pleading with Americans to wake up to this grift before they've destroyed themselves or their children. England and European countries are taking serious steps to protect minors from this dangerous, endless merry-go-round of gender transition. Will America get the message before it's too late? Well, I think it'll get the message before it's too late for many people, but it's going to be too late for the ones that are already in the process now, or I say like in the next 5-10 years. I think that's going to be too late for those folks. And what we need is more and more of these people, this brave man, to come out and go public and not get banned on Twitter. Now that Elon Musk has taken over, I really hope that a lot of these people that have been through this will get on Twitter and share their stories far and wide and everywhere else, and hopefully not get banned, which probably they are on Google. I need to do an experiment. Since about 3 of my YouTube videos were censored or taken down off of YouTube for my stand on COVID, I need to do an episode on transgenderism and see what YouTube does. Yeah, okay, that's my plan. I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to go get that book, which I can't remember the name of right now, that talks about what's going on with kids and transgender. I need to read the book, see if I can get the author on and do a YouTube video on it. All right. Also, of course, I'll do it on my radio show. And not too far apart from the last story, I have a list of 14 signs of authoritarianism. And we should go down each one of these and think about this and whether or not we have many of these signs already showing up here in the good old US. All right, number 1, dissent is equated to violence. Well, we know that Antifa thinks words are violence. So I would say number 1 applies because, yes, Antifa, which is supposed to be anti-fascist, which is actually fascist and doesn't see the irony, will take to the streets to fight against you if you have spoken out against, BLM, COVID restrictions, anything. Speak out against anything that is actually fascist, and they will take to the streets to fight you on it. That's what we saw over the summer of 2021. Number 2, media is controlled. No. We don't see that in Twitter and Google. If you haven't watched my Facebook Live I did last week on Tuesday, go to my Facebook page or go to my YouTube channel. My Facebook page is my name, Annette Bybee. My YouTube channel is under Annette Talks. I did 2 Facebook Live streams on Twitter and what's been coming out. And that media was controlled. Biden was pulling a lot of the strings. The FBI was pulling strings. So yeah, check. So number 1, check. Number 2, check. Number 3, the legal system is co-opted by the state. You can make arguments for both sides on this, but I would say that the DOJ is definitely part of the state, and it's outrunning cases against pro-life activists. So the legal system is not entirely co-opted by the state, but it is to a degree. So I'm going to put a half of a check mark on that one. Number 4, power is exerted to quash dissent. Well, you could see some of that with the DOJ and the pro-life movement when these FBI agents come storming into these homes of these pro-life activists. There is some of that. Unfortunately, it's also coming from BLM and Antifa, but that's not necessarily coming from the government. It's coming from loopy people. All right, next one, number 5. State police protect the regime, not the people. Well, we see defunding the police going on right now, and yet you have police presence for some of these mayors and governors who've gotten in trouble. So I would say that's a half of a check. But they, some of these politicians that are crying out for defund the police, well, look, almost get a check mark for it because of the razor wire that was around the Capitol building for a while. who was being protected there? Actually, it was more of a statement of, oh, we are under fire. You know, we got to protect ourselves from the crazy people. But you can make an argument for that. Number 6, rights, financial, legal, and civil, are contingent on compliance. Well, you can find in some areas that this is happening. You get canceled if you are not on the right side of COVID. You didn't, 2020. I'm going to give a check mark to this because vaccine passports were being floated around. In federal government jobs, you lost your job if you didn't have the vaccine. And some states were trying to do vaccine passports for other freedoms. So I'm going to give that one a half. I'll give it a half a check mark. 2020, it would have gotten a full check mark. Number 7, mass conformity of beliefs and behaviors is demanded. That was 2020. So some of these things I'm going to say 2020, yes. You've got to wear your mask. You've got to get your vaccine. So 2020, check. Number 8, power is concentrated in inner ring of elite institutions and people. Federal government, SEC, the Fed. So I'm going to give a half check mark to that. Number 9, semi-organized violence is permitted in some cases. Oh, BLM, Antifa, check. But don't be on the other side. That's not allowed. Number 10, propaganda targets enemies of the state regime. Yes, check. If you're not with Biden, you're censored. Number 11, entire classes singled out for persecution. White Christian males, half of a check on that one. Number 12, extra legal actions are condoned against internal regime opponents. Well, you could say the censorship on Twitter is extra legal action. 13, harsh legal enforcement. So I would spend more time on this, but I'm running out of time. Sorry. Harsh legal enforcement against unfavored classes. Unfavored classes, I would say not official unfavored classes, but kind of right along the line. I mean, white Christian males, straight white Christian people are not popular. But I don't know that there's legal enforcement. Oh, you could say parents. Parents are seen as terrorists that if they speak up at school board meetings. Number 14, private and public levers of power are used to enforce adherence to state dogmas. Public-private partnerships. I'm going to say again, Google, Twitter. So we are awfully close on a lot of these, which is not good. So the point here is we have got to pay attention and fight back against censorship and anything else that looks anything like those 14 signs of authoritarianism. Or we end up waking up one day saying, what happened? How did we become authoritarian? All right. Thank you for listening today. This half hour, I should say. Stick around for the second half hour when we have a lot of fun with Stephen Daniels. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to Annette on America. In this half, we're going to do something a little different. Since we're coming on to the end of the year, here we're in December, and everyone's doing countdown episodes or articles, top 10, top 20, whatever. I thought that, well, actually, this is my guest's idea. My guest, Stephen Daniels, who has been on many times in the past, who is an economist and a college professor and just a smart guy, said, hey, let's talk about our favorite memes of the year. And those of you that know me would know that I probably, if I went back over the entire year and looked at my Facebook page and started counting memes, is probably like 1,000 or something. I mean, I'm on Facebook all the time. If you haven't found me there, go find me, Annette Bybee. Anyway, and so we are going, I was telling Stephen ahead of time that this is either going to be a train wreck or awesome. Probably nothing in between, because we're just going to talk about some memes from this year. I'm not even going to try and do like, oh, my top 10 favorites. I'm just going to throw them out there in any order and we're going to talk about them. So welcome, Stephen.
Hey, how are you, Annette? Thanks for having me on.
I'm sleep deprived. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, my daughter was giving me a hard time this week. And so she gave me a hard time all evening. And then I went to bed and had nightmares about her half the night. So it's the single mom thing. That's why you probably saw that I posted this week that sometimes being a single parent is not good times. And so this is one of those weeks. So that's why, some levity would be good about now. So speaking of which, because she's 14, this is, I'm going to do this meme. I think most of them are probably going to be political, but I'm not limiting them to that. So this is my favorite. It looks like a wall and it's got two signs on it and they both say text us. And I think this is at a campground. And so the one on the left says text us. Please don't hesitate to text us at whatever number if you see anything that needs our attention. We want to make this campground as relaxing and comfortable as possible for our guests. Thank you. Then the sign on the right says translated for teenagers. Sup. HMU at whatever number. If you see anything that is sus or cringe, like IDK, a toilet that got wrecked, REKT, or something, TBH, we high key trying to glow up this campground. Can't stop, won't stop until this place straight up slays. Need your help, fam. TY.
Annette, once you turn 55, you can no longer understand that hieroglyphics.
Hey, I'm just under the wire then. I'm not yet 55. Well, so for those of you that may be over 55, HMU stands for hit me up. Sus is short for suspicious, and it comes from Among Us, Among Us game. Cringe, IDK, I don't know. Wrecked, it's just misspelling wrecked. TBH, to be honest. I keep trying to glow up. I guess make it glow. Anyway, I just thought it was really funny. I know this terminology because I have 3 teen and tween daughters and I teach in the school. So I see this stuff all the time. So I just thought it was funny. I'm like, hey, I understand all of that. So anyway, I thought it was pretty funny. You want to throw your first one out there?
Well, Annette, because we're probably going to be somewhat political and going through the best memes of 2022, I pulled up an oldie but goodies that luckily gets repeated often. Now imagine kind of an artist rendering of a guy scratching his head sitting at a typewriter.
Okay.
And the meme is, oh, my political posts are annoying you? Sorry, I assumed the future of humanity was worth discussing. By all means, show me another picture of your meal.
Yeah, seriously. That's cute. All right, here's one. Here's another one that's not political. I think most of mine are probably going to be from December because that's as far back as I got. I got a whole boatload of memes. But this one is Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie because it occurs on Christmas. It's a Christmas movie because it's about a social obligation with a family member that you didn't want to participate in, but spirals more and more into an unending nightmare. And I thought that was great because there's always this constant debate about whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not. And I mean, obviously it's a terrorist movie. And I think it's great. I wish I could get the edited version because we like to watch it. Drops the
Well, next week, let's do a show on favorite Christmas movies or favorite Christmas movie lines.
Oh, yeah, there are tons, but we can't do it next week, unfortunately, because audience, next week I have 2 singer-songwriters who have written Christmas songs. We're going to come on, play their songs, and talk about the inspiration behind their songs and how they feel about Christmas and stuff like that. But
well, I'm sure they would love to talk about Christmas Vacation and Cousin Eddie.
That's another favorite one that you see people talking about all the time, or the pictures, the quotes. on Facebook. And yeah, Christmas Vacation. Well, there are so many one-liners. Look, it's from Italy. Fragile. If people don't know that one, they haven't seen A Christmas Story. So
Yeah. Well, Annette, trying to brace us for the political blowback from this show and the memes we'll discuss, I found another oldie but goodie, one that I really like to bring up and use often. Now, imagine a picture of General James Mattis, who was the commandant of the Marine Corps. He was actually became Secretary of Defense, but he's standing in his Marine uniform talking to his troops, and he said, "Be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet."
Yeah, I think I saw it. I like that one. That's great.
Now, the backstory on that, in all fairness, is he wasn't promoting killing Democrats or Republicans. This was going into a meeting with tribal elders in Afghanistan, and he was warning his troops, be prepared.
Yeah.
We don't know what will happen here.
Well,
so
I think
that
was probably good advice in that situation.
Yeah, but I really like that one a lot.
All right, let me find. Oh, this one is it's not a meme, but it's a Babylon Bee title of their this article, and it's not really funny. I mean, it's very pointed, and you know what's going on in Canada. But it says Canadian healthcare system introduces punch card, where on your 10th visit you get free suicide. Because I don't know if you've heard that, but in Canada they're pushing physician-assisted suicide on so many people that are not interested in dying, or like if they come to them and they're depressed, like really. So Canada is really not going the right way at all.
And that, and this is a little bit off subject, but I just got to throw it in here. I'm reading a history book on the Hitler years, 1933 to 39. I'm only through the first year, 33. It's scary, the parallels to what Hitler did to seize control of the German country and some of the antics we see going on in America. It's scary how similar some of the things are. I'm not trying to say we're going down that road or we've got a Hitler-esque leader here, but gosh, it reminds me that those that don't learn the lessons of history are bound to repeat the mistakes of the past, which I'm sure is a meme somewhere. But
oh yeah, well, in my first half, I talked about the 14 indications of a fascist authoritarian country, and there were a lot of scary signs that we meet some of those, which is good. We shouldn't close on any of those in this country.
Right. Let me segue just George Bernard Shaw, a picture of him looking at a book or writing notes. And the quote was from him: "Be aware of false knowledge. It is more dangerous than ignorance."
Yeah, big time.
And that's relevant to this year. Think about it.
It is. For those of you that just listen on the radio, you should come on Facebook sometime. And I know I just told you to go there, but go there on Tuesday nights at 6, because I'm now starting to go live and do these live episodes just to get out there more often than once a week. And I talked about the Twitter files yesterday or Tuesday, and how we just found out that the Great Barrington Declaration was censored on Twitter, Facebook, Google, at the behest of Biden. And that's the kind of thing that makes us puts us in the realm of a fascist government, when we're getting nothing but propaganda. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting a lot of propaganda and we're being censored. That's one of the signs. Okay, so kind of on that topic, here's a good meme. And this has got a picture of, what's his name? Dr. Snow. Who's the Marvel doctor that's played by
Dr. Strange?
Is it Dr. Strange? Okay. I was going to say
he's the magician.
Yeah. Yes. And he can like open portals with his hands. And
yeah.
Stuff like that. Right. All right. So I guess it doesn't really matter. He's talking to someone. Yeah, it does matter. This is him. Okay. He says, "I looked forward in time. I saw 14,605 futures." And he's talking to Iron Man. And he says, did socialism work in any of them? Says, and Dr. Strange says, "Of course not. I looked into the future, not into Fantasy Island." So I thought that was pretty good. I just pictured him opening him up, 14 million different portals like you can. So yeah, socialism doesn't
Well,
work.
I teach my students, even when it's not relevant to their course material, socialism never works.
Nope, never
It
has.
never works.
There's no reason to think that it would work now all of a sudden. Like human nature is not going to change, right? The rules of economics are not going to change to make this work.
Well, it's the thing that most people don't talk about with socialism is the principle that all people have equal capability and desire, and they don't. And that's why you need to allow Adam Smith's invisible hand to decide what job you take, what compensation you take, what education you get, how hard you're going to work. I mean, well, that's off on a tangent, but I can bring it back to talking about animals and dogs and horses and kids if you'd rather.
Well, it's a good topic. It's always worth covering. So, okay, you throw a meme out at me.
Well, Annette, you may remember I cried all over Facebook when I lost my dog about a month ago.
Yeah.
I had this Malamute that I just adored. And so I posted a whole memorial to him and still not over it. I'm still dog sick.
Oh.
But I found an interesting meme to use in the show tonight. Now imagine this again, a drawing of a large dog. What I wish I could tell you what kind of dog it is. It's a big one, like a Bernese mountain dog. Okay. And a little boy that's no taller than the dog, and they're looking at each other. And so the meme is, some people never understand how much someone can love a dog. Look at me. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. The dog knows.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Dogs are good for just totally accepting you, always being there to give you affection and love, no matter what's going on in your life. I think I would like dogs more if I hadn't been raised. Like I was raised with dogs, but my mom, who was a nurse, always told us every single time we pet that dog, we need to go wash our hands. So ever since then, every time, I know, here I am now in my 50s. It's been like, I don't know, 40 years or so since we had a dog. And every time now I pet a dog, until I can go wash my hands, I feel like there's something on my hands that needs to be off, and so I've never been that excited about dogs since. I mean, I like them all right, but and I'll pet them, but all I can think is, when can I go wash my hands? When can I go wash my hands? So that was drilled into me pretty good, I guess.
Well, just remember with cats, when they climb all over you and sit on your chest or sit on your head or whatever, where their paws were 4 or 5 times every day.
Oh gosh, yucky.
Speaking of everyone liking everyone, Yellowstone is a very popular show these days, and Rip is one of the most popular characters. There's a meme out of Rip standing there just looking at the photographer, and he says, "Not everyone likes me, but not everyone matters."
Is that Kevin Costner?
No, Rip is a different actor.
I have not seen the show. I know.
Oh my gosh. How can you live in Colorado and not see that show?
Is it TVMA?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Is
probably whatever X-rated TV is, it probably is.
That's why. I'm a PG-13 gal. All right. Let's see. Oh, this is not a meme, but this is good news today. Vaccine researcher Dr. Robert Malone reinstated on Twitter after being banned over COVID misinformation policy. For those of you that don't know, Robert Malone was the guy that helped to invent our DNA, or whatever it's called. What is it? I can't remember now.
mRNA.
mRNA. Thank you. He's the one that helped invent that. And then he's the one that came out afterwards and said, dude, these vaccines are not good for you. Do not give these to your children. Do not give these to your children. I'm like, he's one of the few. And so why did so many people not get that information? Because he was banned on Twitter, just like the Great Barrington Declaration. All right, what's your next one? Throw another one out at me.
Well, I have a fun one here, and this is political. But remember Forrest Gump sitting on the bench with his box of chocolates talking to the lady?
Yep.
Well, this meme took that image and superimposed our president's face on it. Oh. And the meme is, I'm not a smart man, but I'm not as stupid as those who supported me.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, then I have one along those lines. And it says aerial view of the White House, and you look down and it's a circus tent. So yeah, that pretty much says it all. And then there's another meme. Okay, this is going to be interesting to describe. So you have a glass sitting on a counter, and someone's pouring another glass into it, but the water is not going into the other glass. It's coming out the bottom of the cup that's being poured. And the cup, I know this is going to be hard to explain. The cup sitting on the counter waiting for the water says Americans. The cup being held over that cup says oil. The hand holding the cup says Biden. And the water coming out the bottom of that cup says China. So it's basically Biden's giving the water or oil to China instead of the Americans. I guess that's a better visual than.
Well, Annette, I've come to be interested in the Stoics because of all the memes that show up. I always catch my eye because usually these ancient philosophers have something worthwhile to say. So a bunch of my favorite memes come from them. But Euripides said, "Talk sense to the fool, and he calls you foolish."
Yep. Yeah.
I can throw one more in after that.
Okay, wait.
People are like books. Some deceive you with their cover, and others surprise you with their content.
Yes. Well, okay, going along with what you just said about the fool one. Here's one. This is a picture of Fetterman, and then Rachel Levine in the middle, and then the guy on the right. I don't know his name, but I'll tell you what it says, and it'll all make sense. A guy who can't communicate, a guy who thinks he's a girl, a dead guy who just won his election. Pennsylvania is fine. Remember they elected a dead guy?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Mark Twain is a great source of quotes.
Yes,
Winston Churchill, Mark Twain, and Benjamin Franklin are sources of great quotes. But Mark Twain, this is one of my favorite quotes of his, along the lines of our other memes. Never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience.
Yes. Yes, they will. I have so much I could say about that, but I probably shouldn't get myself in trouble. Here's a funny one. This is a non-political one. So it's a lady at a gift wrapping counter getting ready to wrap a gift for a guy. And so he brought it up to her and she says, "Nice iron. Your wife will love it. While I wrap it, you might want to go over to the sporting goods and pick out a helmet."
I like it.
You don't want to buy an iron. Anyway, your turn.
Well, if we could mix animals and politics into the same meme, imagine a picture of a wolf staring at you in the wild. He's looking at you and he says, "The difference between humans and animals would never allow the dumbest ones to lead the pack."
Yes, I've seen that one. It's like, what could that meme be talking about? That doesn't make any sense. All right, let me see if I can. Oh, okay, here's another political one. So you have to picture a UPS truck and a UPS driver stepping down with a package. The UPS driver just happens to look like Hillary Clinton, but with a mustache. And she's got a package under her arm, and it says, "I have a package for Elon." So I think the implication is that there's a weapon of some kind, right? So he's the next one. All right.
Back to my Stoics.
Uh-huh.
Socrates said, and again, you've got an image of Socrates in the background from some statue, "I'm the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is I know nothing."
Yeah, that's a good one. Yep.
It's something you and I should remember occasionally, right?
Are you saying that we think we know it all?
Not me.
All right, this is going to lighten things up a little bit here. So picture a shooting range, and there's a whole line of people standing there pointing their guns at their targets, and at the very end is Santa in his Santa gear, and it says, "Santa Claus training for his ride through Chicago this year." So Santa's he's carrying, See, the audience can't see, they don't know that I can see you on Zoom right now, so I can see your reaction or non-reaction. So they don't know that I'm laughing at the fact that you weren't laughing at that.
I think we do need to create that meme of like a 50 caliber machine gun on Santa's sleigh,
Uh-huh.
so he can travel through any of the major cities.
Yeah, pretty much. New York, Chicago, Seattle, Portland, all the cities.
Annette, I found a meme that's really interesting to look at, but it covers two important issues we've talked about this year: climate change and COVID.
All right, let's hear
And
it.
imagine a yellow background and a blonde, attractive lady with her holding her chin kind of puzzled. And
Uh-huh.
she says, the most powerful governments on earth can't keep a virus from spreading, but they say they can change the earth's temperature if you pay more taxes.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. That's things that make you go, hmm. Remember that? I don't remember
Well,
that.
that was the point.
Make you go,
Yeah.
hmm. Things that make you go, hmm. All right, here's one. And this is political. So it's Santa, and he's sitting there, and I told you these are all from December. He's got a little girl on his lap, and he says, "What would you like for Christmas?" And she says, "A unicorn." And he says, "Be realistic." And she says, "A government that doesn't violate my rights and plunder my wealth." And he says, "What color unicorn?" All right, your turn.
Now, this one is not so funny, but along the COVID theme, it was kind of thought provoking. Imagine a state capitol. Imagine a nurse in her blue scrubs standing out there holding two posters, people walking behind her. Poster one says, "We worked through the pandemic with no vaccine. Now they want to fire us. Last year's heroes are this year's unemployed."
Yeah. Yep. Yep. All right. Well, I'm okay as long as we're doing a little political. Here's a meme, and hopefully this is self-evident. It's actually not a meme; it's a tweet. And I don't know who this guy is. Blaine Crane. I don't know. It says this is the only WNBA trade that has ever made headlines, and that's obviously the Brittany Griner for the Merchant of Death. There's supposedly a movie called Lord of War with Nicolas Cage. Have you seen that?
No, but he play that guy?
Yeah,
Wasn't that the
he
movie
wasn't
based on
called
him?
him in the movie, but I guess it was very much based on his life, even though they called it something else. So I may have to check that out. I think it's rated R again, so I don't know. We'll see. But
Don't you have to believe that if you lined up in a line the last five presidents of the United States, four of the five would say, no, we're not doing that trade?
yeah, I don't know any of our presidents other than Biden or maybe Obama that would have done something like that. Ah, just terrible. All right, here's another humorous Christmas one. This is Joseph walking along with Mary, and she's on the mule. And he says, "Don't be mad. I said I was sorry. I should have made reservations. Talk to me, Mary. Mary? Mary?" She says, "I'm fine." And down below it says, "How Silent Night Began."
There you go.
All right, your turn.
Oh, let me see.
Yeah,
Well, I
most.
guess Joseph may said to that, here's a meme of a guy looking up at an airplane flying overhead. You will never know the true value of a moment until it becomes a memory.
Oh, that's very true. And you almost never realize in the moment that that's going to be one. You're just because usually it means if it's one of those moments, you are actually in the moment, which means you're not like over analyzing it like I tend to do pretty much everything. But that is a good. All right, here's another fun Christmas one. So it's the three wise men, and they're just standing there and they're looking at us, and it says, "We brought gold and frankincense for you, Jesus." And then the bottom picture, one of the wise men is pointing, and he says, "But wait, there's myrrh."
I think you had to be there.
Audibly laugh because people can't see you. There you go. Thank you.
Sticking with my political themes, Ben Carson standing in front of an American flag in the background. We've been conditioned to think only politicians can solve our problems. But at some point, maybe we will wake up and recognize that it was the politicians who created our problems.
Yeah, you would think. By the way, what's cool about Ben Carson? Well, I mean, this is not what's cool about him. What's cool is that he is going to come and speak at my daughter's school, and they let some of the parents sign up. So guess who signed up? I'm going to
No
go
kidding.
and I'm going to go and hand him my card and see if he'll come on my radio show.
Well, definitely send him an email in advance.
That's a good idea.
He's got a not-for-profit to promote something. I would definitely try. All I can do is say no.
Yeah, you're right. Good idea.
Note to say I'm going to be in the audience and can meet you, but let's schedule a time. We can even do it via Zoom.
Oh, very good.
Just remember, though, when you hear my opinions on things, the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject. Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, that's Facebook. That's Twitter. All right. Here's another Christmas one. What I really want is a Hallmark movie where a woman learns the true meaning of Christmas while she hunts a serial killer. And I like that because I love murder mystery. Some of the Hallmark movies are okay, but they would be so much better if there's murder mystery embedded inside.
Well, Annette, I tell you, I save a lot of memes that are just kind of uplifting and kind and thoughtful stuff. So I'm going to move away from politics and humor and just say something that I think is worth repeating.
All right.
Imagine two hands touching each other in the shape of a handmade heart.
Uh-huh.
So you're holding your hands together and making a heart with a sunset in the background. One of the most beautiful things we can do is support one another. Kindness doesn't cost a thing.
Nice. Oh, isn't that cute? All right, I like it. I'm looking through mine going, what do I say after that one? Because I well, we're gonna have to wind it down pretty soon. Anyway, you know what?
We're out of time anyway.
Yeah, actually, we are. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to do what I always do. First of all, people, if you have a business and you like what you hear on the radio and you want to advertise on my show, send me an email at Annette@AnnetteTalks.com and let's talk about you becoming a sponsor because I think that would be fabulous. So email me, Annette@AnnetteTalks.com. And this is what I always end my show with. And so I have a very great story from my favorite news source. And if you'll recall, this week, Elon Musk has put out quite a few Twitter files. Well, he wasn't done with Twitter. This is the title of this article. Elon Musk buys Santa's workshop, releases emails showing how naughty and nice lists were created. So we're getting an inside scoop here into the North Pole. North Pole. Elon Musk finalized the purchase of Santa's workshop this week and immediately released internal emails which show how the naughty and nice lists were created. After buying Twitter, I wanted to try my hand at supporting a cause I really believed in, said Musk of his recent purchase. But after finding out reindeer can't live in subarctic temperatures, I decided to do some digging and find out what else they've been lying about. An in-depth report slowly revealed as fast as reporter Matt Taibbi could tweet has exposed key conversations between Santa and his elves that demonstrate a lack of concern for personal privacy and human rights issues. The findings also confirm Santa Claus, who was previously said to make toys for all the world's children with the aid of Christmas magic, actually funds the whole operation by blackmailing wealthy politicians. The more I learn, the worse it gets, Musk tweeted just hours after gaining access to Santa's web servers. The world should know the truth of what has been happening at the North Pole. Musk had initially tried to back out of the deal, citing a lack of transparency by Santa Claus. Elon's subsequent trips to the North Pole have also provided a much-needed context surrounding Musk's infamous Devil's Champion outfit, which he says was never a fun Halloween costume. Sources now confirm it to be a custom-made armor designed to withstand attacks from the mystical, elvish people who are indigenous to the region. It is also well-suited to subarctic temperatures. At publishing time, the Tooth Fairy has adjusted her tooth currency exchange for inflation presumably spooked by the revelations of impropriety at Santa's workshop. So that, of course, was the Babylon Bee, and I just love their articles. So thank you, Stephen, for coming on and sharing your fun memes with me.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me on again. And if I don't talk to everyone, have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday and whatever makes your end of year special.
Yes, you too, Stephen. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
And thank you, listeners, for listening to Annette on America, where freedom lovers gather.